Hello, this is the start of our parabolas unit. First gonna go over some vocab that will be very important, that we'll use a lot. I'm gonna define these words: vertex, axis of symmetry, and zeros. Zeros means the same thing as solutions and x-intercepts. But yeah, I'll go over all of those in a sec. But these three words are the main words that we're going to learn about. What is a parabola? So the parabolas are these U shapes. They could also be upside down U shapes. They go forever, which is important to know. Like when we're dealing with lines, those also technically keep going on forever. Same thing with parabolas, but this time they're funny U shape. And you get parabolas from graphing quadratics. If you remember, quadratics are the things with like an x squared term. So for something like this, for example, if you put this into like a graphing calculator, you're going to get a parabola. You're going to get a U shape. There's some pretty cool real life applications of parabolas. Like the main thing that we'll see is like the trajectory of things falling or like moving in the air. Or bouncing here too, I guess. These two are probably also true. There's the shape of a suspension bridge and a rainbow. I mean, this is things I have to research more so I can show you cool real life applications. But like, trajectory is the main one and probably the most useful one. I don't know why you'd want to calculate the shape of a rainbow, but maybe you do. Now that vocabulary, the vertex is the point on the tip of the parabola. So on this parabola, it's this point right here. Yeah, it's right. It's one singular point. It's right on the tip. It's right where the parabola starts going from up to down, or I guess down to up. And yeah, you should think of this as like a point on the graph. The next term is the axis of symmetry. This is if you remember what a line of symmetry is, that's where you basically, something that's symmetric, you put a line down the middle to show that both these sides are symmetric. This is basically that. Well, yeah, I actually should have mentioned this earlier. Yeah, parabolas are symmetric. And down this line, they are like mirrored versions of each other, of itself, I guess. So why is this not just called the line of symmetry? Well, axis is basically a math word for line on a coordinate plane. So that's why it's axis of symmetry. Like the x-axis and the y-axis, those are both lines. Like that's a line. This is a line. And the axis of symmetry is also a line. The last one is zeros. This is the points where the parabola hits the x-axis. So here, as you can see, it hits it here, as well as here. I don't really want to explain why it's called zeros just yet, but like, well, you can actually, yeah, you can just think of it as just, these are the points where the y is 0. The y coordinate, yeah, is 0 for both of these. You need to know that this is really the same thing as solutions and x-intercepts. You can think of it you can think about these points in two different ways. Like the most straightforward probably is just what are the coordinates of these two zeros here? What are the coordinates of these 2 points? And that's this and this. So you can think of these as your zeros, but we actually often just think of it as the x coordinate because you know the y is going to be 0. So we can often just like, it's easier to think of the zeros as 0 and 8. And it's important to, it's important to know that you can think of it as a point, or you can just think of the x coordinate on that point. Another thing real quick is, why do we have all these different words? Well, it's just kind of an unfortunate situation. And I'm going to teach them all because they all show up on on like SAT and stuff like that and in college. I personally like zeros, but maybe some other teachers will like different things. Also, x-intercepts, I can explain why that or why that makes sense, this term. Intercept means cross, so this is really saying where it crosses the x-axis, which makes sense. Yeah, these are the points where it crosses the x-axis. Anyways, hope that's pretty chill. We're starting off easy. We've already, factoring is like a big part of parabolas, and we're already learning that. But yeah, try out the worksheet. Hopefully it's not too bad.